What is up, people? I'm the Godless Engineer, and tonight we are talking about a lot of shit. One of the things that we're talking about is abstinence only education, sex education. Missouri's got a pretty fucked up thing that they do with a sock. That's how they teach about sex education because they hate the word penis and vagina. Apparently, apparently that's way too complicated for them, or that's way too uncomfortable for them. Because you know what? Fucking Southern sensibilities. But that's what is holding us back tonight. And if this is your first time here watching this show, the stand up is geared towards answering three questions. And that is, what have we accomplished? What are we currently working on? And what are what is holding us back? And this is parallel to the agile scrum kind of daily stand-up that you do. In case you don't know about scrum or whatnot, I'm a software engineer and I use scrum on a daily basis. I actually love the system, so I thought I'd incorporate it here. So first up tonight, what we have is an atheist delivered a secular invocation to a city council. Now, this isn't all that special. I mean, we've been having these things occurring, regularly lately. There's often been a lot of like contention during those times. Like there was one particular invocation where a bunch of the city council members left, just picked up their shit and left. Because that's what an atheist would do during a religious invocation. We just pick up our shit and we leave. I don't think that that's really ever happened because, I mean, why should it matter? If they're going to be forcing these prayers and whatnot, we should get a fair shake too, shouldn't we? But where this one in particular kind of deviates from what we've been hearing about these invocations and whatnot is that it didn't necessarily, like, people didn't just get up and barge out and leave and be like, this is blasphemy! It's blasphemy! If you guys hadn't seen, there's a bunch of videos that have been circulating around on the internet where one particular guy was going to every politician that entered his state and asking them about the separation church and state and, wanted to get what their views on it actually was. And so, he actually did the invocation at the Waterloo city council meeting. And I think that's great because he was very active. He was getting out there. He was asking these questions. He was standing up for the separation of church and state, which is something that we all heavily need to do, especially nowadays with, a bunch of religious people that are pushing their religious agenda through the government, through "In God We Trust," putting that on police cars, through even local school districts, like putting up, doing the whole Jesus lunch thing in Wisconsin. They're pushing themselves out there and into the public square where the First Amendment clearly says they don't have any kind of right to be there, in the public square, like using public monies and all this other stuff. Um, and hey there, Eric. Welcome to the stream. But this secular invocation is also really, really unique in that it wasn't just Justin Scott giving the occasion, the invocation, talking about doing the whole secular thing, but directly after that, they actually signed a proclamation that you can see right here. And the proclamation is about a day of reason for Waterloo. This was directly after the secular invocation. He signed this, and so they're going to have a day of reason. I mean, we've got a day of like a national day of prayer. We have all of these religious days, that are very religiously themed that are protected by the government, of course. So why not have a day of reason? I think a day of reason is awesome. But let's see. Proclamation. Whereas the application of reason more than any other means has proven to offer hope for human survival upon Earth, improving conditions within the universe, and cultivating intelligent, moral, and ethical interactions among people and their environments. And those who wrote the Constitution of the United States of America, the basic document for governing the affairs of humankind within the United States, based it upon the principles delineated within the philosophies distinguishing the historical age of reason. And most citizens of the United States purport to value reason and its application, and it is the duty and responsibility of every citizen to promote the development and application of reason. That is just phenomenal, in my opinion. I think that this is an awesome way, to really celebrate a very rational mindset and to get everybody in the mindset of being rational and more secular. Because reason doesn't belong to religion. Now, if you listen to Frank Turek and all these other kind of apologists, they'll tell you that the only reason why we have reason is because of God. Like, that's the only source for it. That's the only way that we can have it, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Nanny nanny boo boo, stick your head in doo doo, kind of thing. And I just think that it's pretty. It's pretty self-involved to claim that your particular religion is the only one that can give you reason, when I'm sure that a lot of other religions out there will definitely be like, fuck yeah, we take, reason, that's our bitch. But there's that. So I would love to congratulate Justin Scott, not only for his activism and going out there and questioning the Senate, the presidential candidates on their opinions of this church and state separation, but also standing up, giving that invocation, and and then of course the mayor there doing this particular thing, and I just think that it's awesome. The mayor there is Mayor Quentin Hart. So I highly suggest supporting these kind of actions, highlighting these kind of actions, praising these things. That's why this is in what we have accomplished, because I feel that as a society, this is something that we've accomplished. This is progress. We're moving forward and being a bit more rational in our thinking in society. Even though this is one city, it needs to happen more often in other cities. Next up comes from my particular state. This is something that I just love. Alabama has a bill up for a vote. Now, as I understand it, it's got to get through the House and the Senate, and in order to be put up for people to vote on it. But if we let people vote on this, they're definitely going to vote the 10 Commandments, because not only does this particular bill go as far as to say, hey, you can put the 10 Commandments on public property, but it specifically names schools as one of the properties that you can put the 10 Commandments on. So this is going to open up a whole can of worms for the public school system, because once you put the 10 Commandments on the school grounds, what's to stop from the teachers, putting the 10 Commandments up in their classroom? And then what about a crucifix? What about a really bloody crucifix that they made in art class one day, and it's just oozing with blood, and then the kindergartners have to sit there and watch Jesus bleed to death all over again every single day for their entire school year? I mean, it's pretty fucking ridiculous. But not only, and I really feel like I'm like some kind of shitty TV salesman, but I'm gonna say is, not only does this bill allow you to put the 10 Commandments on courthouses and schools, but it also goes as far as to say, hey, you can't use public money or any kind of public funds or any kind of public mechanism in order to question the constitutionality of putting the 10 Commandments up there. It goes that far. Like, it says you cannot you can't deliberate this and use public money about the constitutionality of it. They're basically saying, look, we're going to pass this bill and you got to fucking like it. You got to like it, and you're going to shut up unless you can pull in some private funds somewhere, and you can pay both our salaries and the salaries of the lawyers and everything. So we're going to make this 10 times harder for you to fight it in court. That's exactly what this bill is meant to do. Not because this isn't the first time that they've tried to pass this bill. They tried to pass this bill in 2014 too, but it got shot down. Now it's appearing again, and it's added specifically public schools and the inability to fight it, like in like in the committee or whatnot. I'm really, I'm not all up on the legalese, like how they're preventing people, but I just know that they are attempting in any way that they can to prevent people from questioning the constitutionality of it. Now, if this gets all the way through the House and actually put on the bill, this is going to get voted into law. It's going to be an amendment to the Constitution. And, it's just really, really ridiculous that that in Alabama, you can almost guarantee that they're going to vote the 10 Commandments everywhere. And this is specifically the 10 Commandments. It's not just religious symbols. I forgot to point that out. It's not that. It's specifically like, okay. Here, I've actually got the actual or the amendment that they're trying to pass. And it's pretty ridiculous. We're going to read it here just for a second. Proposing an amendment to the Constitution of Alabama of 1901, providing for certain religious rights and liberties, authorizing the display of the 10 Commandments on state property and property owned or administered by a public school or public body, and prohibiting the expenditure of public funds in defense of the constitutionality of this amendment. Whew. So, basically, it's specific to the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments are specific to Judaism and Christianity. Yahweh. I mean, Yahweh pretty much covers both of them, right? So it's very specific to a religion, and they're wanting to put this on public grounds, public schools, and whatnot. How can they not see that this violates the First Amendment? Oh, but no, you can't question it. Fuck that questioning shit. You can't spend any kind of fucking time like deliberating this shit in any kind of capacity. No, we're going to shut that shit down right now by putting in this third part that says, hey, you can't do that. So, what's up there, Space Dorito? But if you really take a look at the 10 Commandments, there are more reasons why, other than the First Amendment, that it shouldn't go on any kind. Well, it concerns the First Amendment, but there are a lot more reasons why, other than it's just the 10 Commandments. You can go a bit deeper than that. Like the first 4 commandments of the 10 Commandments talks about how you should put God first and not make any kind of graven images or anything like that. I swear, don't take the Lord's name in vain. That's another one. But I swear, I will sit on top of my local courthouse with a graven image, like a fucked up face of God. Like I will carve a face of God out of clay, and it'll be fucked up beyond recognition. Foobarred. It'll be foobarred so bad that you won't be able to recognize the Yahweh God, except I'm going to put a fucking stake in the head of him that says Yahweh on top. I will sit on top of the goddamn 10 Commandments, and I will yell out, God damn it, so many fucking times that it's just going to get annoying, and I'll probably get arrested, but hashtag worth it. Hey, blasphemer! Kimiyoko! But I really think that these 10 Commandments, with only a couple of them actually being law, I mean, they're pretty pointless to put on a courthouse or even in a school. Not everybody at all, like not everybody not everybody is a Christian, but yet you got people like Ted Cruz that wants a theocracy in our country, which he's actually dropped out of the race, but that's not going to stop him from creating a theocracy. He can still do it from a Senate seat. And then there was Marco Rubio. He felt that, in order to be American, you had to be Christian. So you have a lot of sentiments out there running around that is very, theocratic. And, you have to understand that the way that things change, things don't change like overnight. Like there's not going to be an overnight thing where we wake up tomorrow morning and the president is proclaiming Jesus Christ as the Lord and Savior of the United States, and we all have to bow to Jesus Christ. We all have to agree that he existed, that we have to praise to him and everything. Like that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen like that. Well, how it happens is small little incremental steps, and this particular thing is one of those incremental steps. You have to see these small little things that build up to us becoming a theocracy and religion running the government. Another way that it does it is through "In God We Trust" on police vehicles, and "In God We Trust" just every fucking where, in our pledge and everything like that, and people acting like it's a secular statement. They act like it's some kind of big fucking secular thing to say "In God We Trust." It's not secular. God is in the fucking statement. It's not a general statement. It is a statement of faith. Because I can guarantee you that during the Civil War, they definitely weren't thinking about a law when they said "In God We Trust." What do you think the dominant religion was during the Civil War? It wasn't Islam. It wasn't Hinduism. It wasn't any of that. It wasn't Buddhism, which Buddhism is technically secular because they don't believe in a higher power. But, it wasn't any of these kind of religions. It was Christianity. Christianity was the main one during the Civil War. So when when they came up with "In God We Trust" to put it on coins and whatnot and really promote it during the Civil War, which the Union Army did that in order to separate themselves out from the Confederates. When they did that, and when they did it during the 1950s, making it the motto, they wanted to proclaim themselves as Christian. It was a Christian nation. That's what they wanted to do, despite what the founders wanted. The founders, and this should really ring out to you. It should really, really ring out to you that the founders mostly were Christian. There were a few deists and whatnot, but for the most part, the founders, because the founders include more than the popular names that we know, the few, like 5 or so. Most of them were Christian, but they all signed and agreed to a secular government. They agreed to keep religion out of government because they had just fought England, who had religion deeply entrenched in their government. But yet, Christian conservatives now, they're like, oh, fuck that. That's not how it was. Christianity's good. We need to work it into our government system. Well, then you got people like Steve Anderson out there in Arizona who wants to just blatantly go around and kill homosexuals, all the while forcing women into the kitchen, making sandwiches, not allowing them to vote, totally reversing the women's suffrage movement, totally reversing the civil rights movement in general. So, that's the kind of people that you would have coming to power because they would want to change things for themselves. They're a lot like ISIS in that way, because ISIS wants to use violence in order to force their religion on the entire world, while Steven Anderson doesn't want to use violence, but they want to use the more political aspect of it and making the change through the actual government, because that is a kind of thing that will hold. That is a kind of thing that will keep going. But I can guarantee you that if this country were to turn into a theocracy, I can guarantee you that another civil war is going to come. I mean, really, and it's going to be bad. Like, there's not going to, I dare say that there probably wouldn't be anything left. You know what I'm saying? But let's see. That's it for the 10 Commandments. I definitely suggest you looking at the 10 Commandments, really determining whether or not they belong on public grounds at all. I know that a lot of you watching me live right now probably agree with me, but in case you're watching this and you don't agree with me, I would love to see your comments down below. Also, if you're watching live now, don't forget to come back later and leave your own comment down below, because the live chat kind of goes away and we lose all of the great comments that you're leaving in the chat. Like Jennifer Stocking says, Christian Sharia, and she agrees with me about the Civil War thing. Because, when you have a big change like that, it's not going to go over well, especially with the nuns group growing. But anyways, we're going on to our last segment of tonight, and that would be what is holding us back. And it's the headline of tonight, and that would be abstinence only education. Ooh, it's such a big topic. But did you know that the United States spent $1.4 billion, pushing an abstinence-only education? And it's quite. The NPR did a piece on it today, talking about whether or not it was effective, and of course, you can tell, no, it didn't. Um, let's see, they were pushing it in Africa and whatnot too, because of course, Catholics, they hate they hate that shit. Congress funded the program with bipartisan support, but one part of the plan was controversial. A third of the money going towards HIV prevention was earmarked for programs teaching abstinence before marriage and faithfulness. This included sex education classes in schools and public health announcements on billboards and the radio. Let's see. The results were clear. Let's see. 14 of the countries in the study had received funding from PREFAR. Between 8 of the countries hadn't. The results were clear. The funding wasn't associated with changes in people's choices about sex. The team could not find any detectable differences in the rates of teenage pregnancies, average number of sexual partners, and at first sexual intercourse in countries that had received PEPFAR money compared with those that hadn't. So effectively, we wasted $1.4 billion. But there is a little bit of there's a little bit of good news that comes with this, because I think that this probably heavily influenced President Obama's decision on this, and that was he eliminated the funding for abstinence-only sex education, mainly because it doesn't fucking work. I mean, even here in the United States, because of abstinence-only sex education, we have, teenage girls that come up pregnant without having sex. A whole bunch of fucking second saviors are running around here, not doing shit, but stealing people's car radios or something. I don't even know if you can really even do that now. Fuck, I'm old. Anyways, but he removed all funding. And let's see, from the progressive secular humanist, he says in particular, Obama's 2017 budget proposal eliminates a $10 million a year grant program for abstinence-only education. And the budget for the fiscal year of 2017, the final budget of his administration, not only eradicates this abstinence-only until sex education funding, it also increases the funds for the teen pregnancy prevention program, maintains funding for the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, Division of Adolescent and School Health, and calls for a 5-year extension of the Personal Responsibility Education Program, according to a statement released by the Sexuality Information and Education Council of the U.S. And I think that these are better places that we can funnel the money. There are a lot. There's a lot of fucking things that we can do with $1.4 billion in total. Of course, that was a $10 million a year grant, but we've been running this program for a long time. And for it to be running for as long as it did, and for it to show no effects whatsoever, should really clue you into how abstinence only really affects the growing population, like the adolescent population. They don't give a fuck. What do you end up with? You end up with girls that don't realize that if a guy comes inside you, that, you're going to get pregnant. You end up with girls and guys that don't know what sex is. They don't use condoms and they spread diseases because, one guy has sex with, I don't know, somebody that has it, and then he spreads it to other people because he doesn't know about the value of protection. Oh, this is all because in some random verse in the Bible, God, like lightning bolt, he Zeus the fuck out of a guy because he pulled out of a woman that he told to impregnate. So that's why you shouldn't be using condoms. Yeah, some story in the Bible where God turned into Zeus, electrified a guy's penis because he pulled out of a woman and came not inside her. That's why abstinence only. Yeah, I mean that's one of the reasons. I mean, that's not all the reasons, but I think that's the most fantastical reason in the Bible to not use condoms. Fucking people. When I was growing up, I didn't get the talk. I didn't get any kind of thing like that. Like, I didn't get taught in school about all that. Like, I got taught about HIV and, sexually transmitted diseases, but it was basically like, don't have sex. No, don't have sex. Sex is bad. Repeat with me in class. Sex is bad. Sex is bad. It's almost like Zardoz. If you've ever seen that movie, there's a giant head that comes forward and it's like, hate your penis. Hate your penis. And that's pretty much what Alabama school systems taught you about, sex education. So there you go. A little bit of insight into my past. The internet would teach you. Fucking Rule 34 will teach you just about anything. Also, if you search the term blue waffle, you'll end up with some happy times. Not now. Of course, that was, back in the past. If you do an urban dictionary for blue waffle, you'll understand the meaning. Go do that now. After the show here. Don't leave the show. Stay right the fuck where you are. People are reacting in the comment section. I'm a bad person. Oh man, but seriously though, with abstinence only education, you don't end up with kids actually doing abstinence. They won't. I mean, their hormones are running like crazy. What can we do? The best thing to do is to actually, show them what it means. Elaborate on STDs, how you get them, what is right and wrong. Like, if somebody does this to you, that is a bad thing to do. If your sex ed teacher impregnates you in class, that's a bad thing to do. You shouldn't. That's rape. But whatever that means, got a recipe. Oh man. But anyways, I appreciate everybody joining me tonight. Leave me your comments down below if you happen to be watching this after this post live. If you're watching this if you're watching this for next time, I will be live Friday at 9:30 p.m. discussing some more secular news, talking about our secular community and answering the 3 questions of what have we accomplished? What are we working on? And what is holding us back? Abstinence only education holds us back wholeheartedly. And I'm glad that Obama has struck it from his budget. And we're not going to be supporting that anymore. Although with the next president getting in there, it might come back. And that's sad because we don't need to be promoting it because it doesn't work. It's patently shown to not work. So I appreciate you guys joining me. Like I said, join me Friday at 9:30 p.m. And I guess I will see you guys later. Y'all have a nice night, and I will see you on the next stand-up.